from the Ticats Audio Network. This is Ticats Today with Louie Butko.
Yes, it is Ticats Today for a Monday, August the 29th, 2022. Louie Butko here on Ticats Today. Yeah, the Ticats' path to the East Division title, well, it got a little trickier after Friday night's loss to the Toronto Argonauts. If you haven't already, Coach and Jovan Santos Knox spoke after that game. You can go to ticats.ca to hear what they had to say, and it's a big week as the Ticats get set for the Labor Day Classic 1 week from today. Does that make this the last week of August, the last few days? I guess that's right, eh? Wow. Not sure where the summer went, but as we've heard before in the CFL, the season doesn't start till Labor Day. So Ticats fans take that for what it's worth, because yes, the Ticats are sitting at 3-8, not where they thought they'd be at this point of the season. Argos first in the division at 5-5. That makes the game a week from today, the Labor Day Classic, well, it makes it just a bit more bigger. And I'm not going to call it a must-win, but I'm going to call it a must-win. They need to win this one if they want to stay in the conversation for the East, first in the East. It's not unattainable. 3-8. Argos are 5-5. A win on Monday would go a long way towards changing it. There's still 7 games left in the season. The Ticats can still finish above 500. And I know you are going to attack me for just even suggesting that. But it's possible. They could do it. They could win 5 out of their next 7. That would take them to 8-10. Would that be good enough to make the playoffs? Maybe. Probably. They can go 4-4. That would take them to 4-3. That would take them to 7-11. They can go 3-4, right? So there's still lots to play for. And to discuss that, very pleased in just a little bit to be joined by the play-by-play team of the Ticats Audio Network. RJ Broadhead and Luke Tasker are going to be by to discuss everything about Friday, looking forward, moving forward, and everything else. The Ticats were not back at practice today. Unlikely to be back at practice tomorrow as well. Hoping for a day 0 on Wednesday from Tim Hortons Field, but we'll let you know once we have the Ticats practice schedule. You know what I do want to let you know is that Tim Hicks is set to perform during Labor Day during the halftime show presented by WeatherTech. Yeah, multi-platinum award-winning entertainer Tim Hicks will be in the Stelco North End during the Labor Day Classic halftime show, as his 5th studio album, Talk to Time, is set to be released on September the 2nd. So 500 lucky Ticats season seat holders will be given field-level access to watch the halftime performance, and that's pretty exciting. Tim Hicks, playing the halftime show at the Labor Day Classic. Fans, before you head out to the Labor Day game, help the Pure Later Tackle Hunger Initiative. Please bring a non-perishable food item to the game to support Hamilton Food Share and help us tackle hunger in Hamilton. All right, let's get right into the game. Let's get right into it with our guests. Very pleased now to be joined by Luke Tasker. He is the color analyst on the Ticats Audio Network. And Luke, I often go out with friends and family, and the topic often turns to the Tiger Cats. And anytime after a loss, guaranteed, at least my grandma is reaching out to me on Facebook Messenger and asking me what happened. So please, Luke, help me explain to my grandma what happened.
Well, do you want me to talk about turnovers, Louie, or should I figure something else out to discuss? But I guess we'll start there. I mean, I think it was 6-1 turnover ratio in the game. Like, that alone is enough. Of course, Dane did not have a performance that's gonna be able to be a winning quarterback performance. And then on top of that, Matt Schultz, as he's playing good, then has to leave the game, and the unfortunate thing is Matt Schultz, I think, has been a positive impact on the team this year, but he's already been injured this year without taking all the reps and without being the number one guy. And so there's that question too. I mean, both Dane and Schultz have had trouble staying healthy. You don't know. There's just so much unknown in the quarterback room right now. Same thing. McLeod Bethel-Thompson has done a good job of taking care of the ball in the games against the Ticats. And on Labor Day, from a defensive standpoint, and kind of right now, it seems to me like the telescope is focused on the offense, and that's kind of where everyone's looking to dissect things. And and pick the game apart. But from a defensive standpoint, if we could force a few more errors and turnovers from the Argonaut offense, each one of those counts. And I mentioned in the broadcast earlier, it's this kind of thing. It's kind of, you talk about I was going to say luck, and there's some of that, but it's also a controllable factor in the sense of McLeod Bethel Thompson's ball security, that the interception that he did throw early on, if that was an incomplete pass, they were going to punt the ball, and the Ticats were probably going to be in very similar field position. In a sense, it was not really a costly turnover. And that's not the way that the Ticats turnovers have gone. The Ticats turnovers have been costly, damaging, at avoidable opportunities, avoidable moments in the game. Kind of what I mean by that is, like, you don't have to times where you didn't really have to force something, where unfortunately they did, and that's going to come back to hurt them. And then you've got inappropriate field positions that they're turning the ball over and things like that. So they've all been damaging, for the Ticats, and that, it's getting ugly as they go forward in the league with the turnover ratio. And that's important to note, that it's a ratio, right? That they've struggled on offense, particularly in giving away the ball. And then they've equally, well, I don't want to say equally, but they've also struggled on defense, getting the ball away and getting some of those turnovers. So it's a double-edged sword, and something's got to get better, in order to allow everything else to start to improve.
And let's bring into the conversation RJ Broadhead, the play-by-play voice of the Ticats in offense, defense. RJ, I'm going to add special teams to that. Seth Small did hit the 58-yard field goal. That was a franchise record, but he did miss a shorter one. And Mike Domagala was not the original punter on this team, and now he's thrown into the punting duties. No Lawrence Woods III. We're talking about injuries. Really all three aspects of the game that we were expecting to see and that we did see, play well against Toronto a couple weeks before, just didn't show up in Toronto this week.
Yeah, it was disappointing when Lawrence Woods got injured. He was so effective in that previous Toronto game, and the return game wasn't great against the Argos. We'll wait and see as Labor Day comes closer if he is healthy enough, if he will be activated. That would be big. When Seth Small missed that field goal, that's kind of when everything was already spiraling for the Tiger Cats, and it just seemed to be. It fit the storyline that was happening, that, yeah, of course, they would miss a field goal after he had tied a Ticats record, hit the longest field goal of the year. But I still think the special teams is great. The tackling has been amazing. Other teams' return games have really been nullified by the special teams. I have a lot of confidence in Seth Small to kick the important field goals in a close game, and I think Michael Domagala has been extremely useful. He's a good tackler, too, as we found out on special teams a few weeks ago. Had to make a few tackles. But I would say, in my opinion, the special teams at the moment is the least of the concerns.
And Luke, there was something that Coach said after the game on Friday. He said, frustration is a very human emotion, but nobody's going to turn on each other in this locker room. And I think that's the big point, is that this is still a team, and 5-5 for the Argos, first place in the East. That's not unattainable. We're talking about a 3-8 Ticats team. Nothing's over. And when we talk about the season doesn't start until Labor Day, well, damn, it's a cliche, but damn, it's a cliche for a reason.
Yeah, you're right. And it's hard to tell. We don't have eyes into the locker room, and we don't know what it's like. I remember so clearly having my own perception of the teams that I was on and realizing that nobody outside had any idea the reality of it, good or bad. Like nobody knew. It's so funny. Like we just can't tell, and it's hard. And you'll get all sorts of emotions. And football is unique because there's, firstly, so many guys in a locker room compared to other sports. And there's just such a variety of people. There's a variety of even physical. Like what other sport is there? A 160-pound Speedy B, or that's generous, but 150-pound Speedy B and a 350-pound offensive lineman. That just doesn't really exist in other ways. So you just get a variety of individuals and personalities and all kinds of things. And so there'll be anger, and there'll be sort of regret, and there'll be let's cheer them up kind of guys, and that whole collection of unique people has to fit together to sort of carry to the next week with a little bit of hope and positivity. So I don't think truly we know, Louie, my best experience is thinking back to 2017 and prior to, in that kind of, we went 0-8. So in that 6th, 7th, 8th loss, things were getting really ugly and people were, starting to, lose trust in sort of the system. And then interestingly, by the end of that year, though we played a few games that were meaningless, there was actually a pretty good environment. We were productive on offense, and that sort of grows. And the point that will make is that a little bit of success will go a long ways in sort of the emotions and the identity of the football team. But losses after losses are hard for any group of people to endure, with positivity.
Well, RJ, I just think about how many people are around this football team. You've probably called some games in some junior Saskatchewan barns where the graduating classes were half the size of what makes up a Ticats team. There's a lot of personalities, and that's the job of the coaches. And when we get back to coaches coach, players play, you got to put it together to see the results on the field. The right group of people are in the building. People with experience, people who have won championships, people who have lost championships. I mean, there's a right combination of people on paper, but we got to see the results on the field.
Yeah, you're right on a lot of aspects there, Louie. My graduating class had 32 people, so there's way more on the Tiger Cats. But hey, that's small town Saskatchewan. That was actually a big class. Yeah, there is leadership, but let's go through some injuries. You look at that receiving core. Who would be the leader? Braylon Addison, in my opinion, he's hurt. The defense. Simone Lawrence has been a leader for a long time. He's hurt. Chris Van Zyl on that offensive line, so much experience. He's hurt. So a lot of these key leaders for the Tiger Cats are out right now. I haven't heard that talked about a lot. That, when you're in these situations and you need somebody to keep you positive or motivate you to make a play and challenge everybody who's going to be the next guy, Ticats are missing a lot of those veteran guys right now. So somebody else has to step up. The other thing that has to happen, and we've heard it a lot from fans, that the plays are, pretty straightforward. Everybody knows what they're going to do. But the Tiger Cats also have to make the plays. There's too many plays not being made. In the last two games in particular, there were touchdowns that probably should have been caught, that maybe would have influenced the game, put a little more momentum for the Tiger Cats. And you look at that Montreal game, they lose by a point. That would have certainly given them the victory. And against the Argos, it would have given them a 10-point lead in the third quarter. Who knows how that would have ended up, but it would have given them a little bit of cushion, a little bit of momentum, a little bit of confidence in the second half, which we know they certainly need. But making plays at this point, you're right, Louie, the talent is there, but the plays have to be made when there's an opportunity.
Curtis Newton, I'm going to add there on special teams. Again, someone who was seen as a leader going into the season, during the season, and we'll add him to the list of leaders that are out of this Ticats lineup. And injury is such a huge part of the game, but you know this, Luke. Coach isn't going to make excuses. It's next man up. You can say that, but at a certain point, you're running out of bodies who know this offense, who know this defense, and not that you can control it, but we come back to that word frustration. How does the tough love, how does that kind of all work in this situation where you still need results on the field? There's still games left in the season, meaningful football games left in the season, and you're right there in the hunt.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's no coddling going on. I mean, there's no sense in saying, guys, it's okay. Let's just go and try our best again. I mean, everybody knows that when it comes down to it, each person in the coaching staff and in the locker room's job is on the line in one way or another. Not to say everyone's a free agent or everyone's playing horribly, but it means something to everybody in the realest sense possible, like anybody's job does. And so, you're right, RJ, to your point of just making the plays out there and to the injury, of course, then the number one position group, quarterback, not only is there, all the play and the performance is in question, but then each of those guys, Dane and Matt, have both had been injured as well. Like there's just, that's an ongoing story for this group, to almost as equally as the turnover story is.
Yeah. And again, there was something that Dane said going into that game, asked how you doing. He said, I'm as healthy as I'm going to be.
And again, when you hear guys say things like that, and you know how much Dane wants to be on the field, and we didn't get to talk to him. We got some reporting from Steve Milton, who had a bit of a conversation with Dane after the game, and Dane said, I went into the locker room and I said, guys, this is on me. I got to be better. I wouldn't expect anything less, RJ, but I mean, we're going to have to see it on the football field. Having seen what he did in 2019, I'm still not counting him out.
No, and we shouldn't count him out. He's a good quarterback. Yeah. The mental side of sports, I think, really over the last few years has started to be more of a topic. But there is momentum, and there are thoughts when you've made a mistake that you want to really make a great play as soon as possible to make up for that mistake. And I'm not a quarterback's coach. Dane Evans has forgotten more about being a quarterback than I'll ever know. But he just needs to try to stop making something happen. He knows if a play's there, go for it. But if it's not, got to move on to the next play. And he has that confidence in himself that he was trying to make things happen. But we're at a point in the season where, that game against Toronto just snowballed, and it was, my heart felt for Dane Evans, because it was, one mistake after another, and it wasn't mistakes that Tiger Cats were getting away with. They were costly mistakes, another 20 points off turnovers. But Luke, I thought you said something that really stood out to me in the post game, that Dane has to just go back to having fun. I think that would make a difference. Don't worry about the results on every play. Just play football.
I think every football player has had that thought and kind of come to a moment like that at some point. I remember in college, because nobody knows that their career is going to continue after college, and sort of my senior year, kind of thinking, like, if I'm not going to have fun, like if I'm not going to go out there and play, like kind of with the heart frame of what I've had since I was a kid, just like really enjoying catching a pass, like really actually loving that, then kind of why do it at all? And for me, whenever I kind of found that again and kind of thought that way, is when I played my best, and I bring up 2017 again. In that year, when we were Ottawa won a game late in the season that locked our fate out of the playoffs. And so you gotta what does it mean to you to go out and just be a great football player when you can't play for a championship or for playoffs or playoff money or anything like that? It's a little bit freeing, when you kind of get to that place. And so, and who knows going forward, maybe if Dane has more opportunity, if his injuries allow, if Matt Schilt's injuries, there's so many unknowns in that group, but you got to go out there and have fun. And the truth is, when the pressures and the mistakes start to mount, like you really can get that tunnel vision, and it's so applicable and appropriate for quarterbacks, but it goes out for all positions where you're lost in the fog of war there, and you're not seeing what you normally would see. You're not seeing what you are supposed to and have to see to make let's say your quarterback reads, well enough. And then when you get to that place, there's nothing but mistakes that can come from that. And I don't know if Dane would say that that's kind of what he was feeling out there, but it's a real thing in sports, and you gotta, your mindset and your emotions and your energy, are like that cliche is true. It's a 90% mental game. You gotta be right, emotionally with your performance.
And RJ, you and I, like 99.9% of the people who are watching the game from a fan perspective, have never been out there, have never taken a snap, have never been through the grind of a season, of a training camp. And I guess that's why I'm quick to defend players or coaches. And, it might come off as homerism, but it's just, you're entitled to have a bad day at work. You're entitled to have a bad week, a bad stretch. It's when what Luke's saying there, it's when it stops being fun. It's when, you go out there and the results aren't coming. What do you think it's going to take for this Ticats to turn things around come the Labor Day Classic?
Well, you are entitled to that, Louie. I agree. But it is your job to make plays, and fans are impatient. And there's a lot of knowledgeable fans with the Tiger Cats, and that, I guess, could be a curse too when things aren't going well. The fans know where it's not going well. You can't sugarcoat it. So for the Tiger Cats, I think it goes back to making plays. All of a sudden, we're so hyped on the defense, and I still really like the defense, but over their last 4 games, they're averaging almost 32 points against. And I know some of those are off of turnovers. The Montreal game in particular, there were missed tackles that we really haven't seen. And somebody has to continue to step up on offense. Luke brought it up a couple of times with the quarterbacks. We don't know at this point, and nobody's going to tell us who the quarterback's going to be in a week on Labor Day. So we'll wait and see who that is. But whoever it is has to make plays. You get your number called, it's right there for you. It has to be made. The talent is there. This is on paper, this is a very good football team. At 3-8, it doesn't look good. 0-6 on the road. Should be undefeated at home. Those disappointing losses to Calgary and Edmonton where they had big leads. But it's still within reach. A win against Toronto. They've got another game against Montreal. This season is far from over. It is going to be exciting. And I just think it would be great in October if we're sitting here having this chat saying, boy, you remember going into Labor Day, they were 3-8, and we thought, oh, man, are they still in it? Like, on paper, they are. Yeah. But maybe they go on a run here and turn everything around. Don't turn the ball over and make plays. I think that's the biggest thing for the Tiger Cats.
And, Luke, I have to think that's the messaging in the room. You're 0-0. It doesn't matter. You can't change the past. You can't control anything that Toronto does moving forward. You're 0-0. You got to keep moving forward.
Yep, it is, and you've got to believe it too as a player, because it's so mathematical, statistically obvious. Like, you're still in it. Like literally, you are still in it. It's amazing. Forget it all though. You're still in it. You got to then have guys who believe it and are willing to, accept the past for what it is, to not hold any bitterness about the way that the season's gone, and then to be able to, look in the mirror and say, what do I need to do to make sure I'm playing my absolute best football as we go to turn this around. And so it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot to just be able to, speak into existence, right off the bat of this thing. That is just, believe that we can do it and let's go do it. But I'm just a firm believer that a little bit of success makes that next bit of belief that you need as a player a little bit more possible. And then if you get that success, and pretty soon, it's a snowball in a good direction as well, where that confidence and success is, going downhill fast. And so, it's just, it takes a little win here and there. And boy, if you could just boil it down to one thing, it's the ball security. And if they can do that, players are going to get more chances to make plays. The defense will get, we be put in less, disadvantageous positions, and, then everything is really new. And then you can really say, okay, we do have a chance to turn it around.
Well, I'm going to probably misquote Coach O here, but you can't win the next one. You got to get through this one, right? I mean, you can't win 5 until you win 1. So that's what it's going to start. It's going to have to go Labor Day. Gentlemen, thank you for doing this. I'm looking forward to seeing you in person on Labor Day. Yeah, it's a big deal. I know you booked out the entire first half for me to sit alongside you guys, so I'm looking forward to that. And
we need
maybe
you
not
in the second half, Louie.
Yeah. Yes.
It's a good idea.
That's true. Okay, we'll figure something out. But thanks so much for doing this, guys. We'll have to do it more often. Thank you.
And my thanks to RJ and Luke for joining me today on Ticats Today. And my thanks to you as well. The Labor Day Classic 50-50 jackpot is a guaranteed $50,000. Be sure to get your tickets early for a chance at $50K and the early bird draw for $1,000 this Friday at 8 p.m. Visit Ticats5050.com. Brought to you by the Hamilton Bulldogs Foundation. License number RAF 1235466. That'll do it for us today on the Ticats Audio Network. We are back tomorrow, same time, same place. Hey, while you're here on the Ticats Audio Network, be sure to check out a brand new episode of the CFL this week. Bubba O'Neill joined by longtime CFL fan and longtime Toronto Sun columnist Steve Simmons. So get to check that out wherever you found this podcast on the Ticats Audio Network. We're back tomorrow, same time, same place. Thanks for checking this out. I'm Louie Butko. From all of us here at the Ticats Audio Network, hoping you have a great day.
Ticats Today can be heard every weekday, and we would like to hear from you. Email us at gameday@ticats.ca. Have a question or an opinion? We want to hear it. That's gameday@ticats.ca. Subscribe to the Ticats Audio Network on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.